Yay.
It's time to start the podcast, Mickey.
It's time
Hi, everybody.
to start the podcast. Hi.
Congratulations. You're listening to Thanks We Hate It.
Yay.
I love that for all of you. What I don't love is what we're going to talk about today. I'm Hannah Lehman.
And I'm Mickey Atkins.
And I already said that. You're listening to, wow. And I already said that you're listening to Thanks We Hate It.
We made
What
it.
an intro.
It's so good. We are professionals.
We sure are. How are you?
You know,
How are you
I'm okay.
doing? What's new? I haven't talked to you new.
What's new? Today I'm just generally sleepy. Oh, you know what? The other reason that I'm sleepy is because I'm redoing my
What's that?
backyard right now. And it is a labor of love.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing for your backyard? Like, what is it that it does? It's every time I text you, I feel like you're like, oh, sorry, I was working on my backyard.
No, literally.
And it's like a lot of labor. So like,
Yeah.
tell the home folk,
Okay.
if people own homes and yards
Yeah.
out there, what it is you're doing.
So
they
actually,
can
yes,
give you tips, because I'm
this
sure
was
they
a
will.
valuable lesson learned for me, because the house that we live in, the folks who like owned it before us, it's very much giving like snowbirds moved to Arizona, find like, you know, like the Southwest very interesting, but like know nothing about it, because they installed
Yeah.
this irrigation system in the backyard and planted a bunch of non-native plants that require a lot of water, a lot of care, a lot of shade, which if you don't know anything about Arizona, we'd have none of those things. Like, it's hot, it's
Right.
we're in a drought constantly, and it's sunny as fuck here. So all
And
of
there
the
is
plants
no shade.
No, there's no shade. So all of the plants required like 35 to 40 minutes of water on an irrigation drip every day, which, if you're not aware, is just like fucking gallons and gallons of water every day, which first of all is expensive, but second of all is so bad for the environment. So the lesson learned was that if you are like fortunate enough or privileged enough to be able to buy a house, don't turn your nose up at the backyards that have nothing in them, because I would have so preferred to just start with a dirt lot and then add our own stuff, because the reason it's taken us so long is that we've had to rip out all of the old plants that aren't compatible with the desert and try to find somewhere for them to live. Fix the 10-year-old irrigation system that has constant leaks. Also move the like literally, Hannah, I'm not even joking you, literally like 2 to 3 tons of rocks that Aaron and I have just shoveled by hand through sheer power of will and a wheelbarrow to scooch out of the way so that we can lay down.
Okay, so you're like trying to take out everybody else's mistakes.
Yes.
Like, basically, like
Yes.
you bought that house, and other people, And so are you trying to make it like pretty too, or is it a huge project just to fix what's wrong with it?
Yeah, mostly we're trying to make it functional, because the thing that really chaps my ass about this whole situation is that our backyard is actually quite large. So first of all, there's plenty of space for the dogs to run around and play. As some of you might know, my dog Savannah broke her leg last year. She like ripped her doggy ACL and had leg surgery. Because our backyard is filled with rocks that are unsafe for puppies to run on. There's this thing, I don't know if do you know what a rock river is?
Not specifically.
It's like a very
Arizona by the name,
thing.
I could guess, but okay, then I probably don't.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it looks like a little riverbed, but it's just filled with this type of rock that's called riprap. It's like shitty, like small boulders. They're like larger than regular rocks, but like, you know, smaller than like an actual boulder, rocks the size of a football ish. And they just like snaked it through our backyard. So if our backyard is a rectangle, right, it cut it from the lower right hand corner to the upper left hand corner. So you have these two shitty half trapezoid shapes of yard, one of which has a giant mesquite tree in it and the other half has an orange tree in it. And so there was like no usable space to like sit down, or like because what we're doing too is also laying artificial turf for the dogs to play on. And so we had like the space for it, but because of this thing that was like snaking through the yard, we couldn't use it. So we've just had to pick all of those up and then level the dirt, dig all of the other rocks out of the way, and like dig 2 inches of topsoil out of the way so that we can get sand delivered to put pavers down. And then all of the like stuff that you're supposed to put underneath artificial turf. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we are doing that, but also because it's so expensive to pay someone to do it.
I was just going to say, it sounds very expensive.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
You're
It's still
DIYing it.
It's not cheap necessarily, but it's certainly cheaper than hiring a team to do it. So
I hate it when people just like do something, like they pull out a plan without a plan. Like, and I feel like that's what like because when we bought, not me, but my parents, the house that I like mostly grew up in, when they bought it and we moved in there when I was like 9, the previous owners had they were trying to make a pond in the backyard, but they literally just dug a hole and filled it with concrete. Like they had no water system. They had no idea what they were doing. God, they had no idea how ponds worked. So we had to fix it after we went in there. And it was so weird because it was like, what were you thinking?
Yes.
And it sounds a lot like that, where it's like you don't know the area, you don't actually know what you're doing, but you have this vision in your head and you're like, oh, well, that should work. It's like, okay,
no, it doesn't.
Arts and crafts projects, that's a great plan.
Yes.
Be artful, like paint whatever. It doesn't matter if it turns out great.
Exactly.
It's a great therapeutic tool. But when it's somebody's yard or it's something that big, like, what are you doing? Hire a professional or at least Google it.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing is that like, I don't even really know very much about backyard landscaping, but when we decided we wanted to undertake this project, we were like, okay, hold on. We're Googling a bunch of stuff. We like called these places to say like, hey, this is what we're doing. Roughly, this is our square footage. Like, what supplies do we need to do this correctly? And like, obviously we compared prices and got advice from a bunch of different places, but like that is how we came to the conclusion of like all of the supplies and stuff that we need. We didn't just like go to Home Depot and wild out to the tune of like several $1,000s. Like I'm pretty sure these people did. Just like, what the fuck?
It's like, yeah, exactly. I get it. That's, watch some YouTube videos because there's always a YouTube video. There is a YouTube video for literally everything to DIY anything. Somebody will show you on YouTube. So it's like,
exactly.
Come on.
It's not that hard.
Sorry. I know.
But yeah, so that's how I am. How are you?
I'm good. I got Botox under my arms last week, which if people out there don't know, I have hyperhidrosis, which a lot of people have. It's very common. It's just excessive sweating, basically, especially under your arms. And I would have like terrible pit stains like all the time, would ruin shirts. So this is the second time I've gone in and I needed to get them redone. The last time I got it was in September and it lasted about that long. So that's pretty good.
Wow.
And I got it back again just in time for summer. And my pits have never been drier. And I just can't recommend it enough. If you guys don't know, Botox is not just for wrinkles, and it does help for migraines too for a lot of people, but it actually has other like strange things that it does, and sweating is one of them. Like I guess people that get Botox on their face or their forehead don't sweat on their forehead either. So it is like some people get it in their palms for like palm sweat.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but I just get it under my arms, and I'm just like happiness level went from like 9 to 10 because of it.
Hell
like,
yeah.
It's just like, so you just don't feel, I feel like before when I'm so sweaty I just feel like I have to shower all the time.
Yes.
And so I
should get Botox for my under boob sweat. That sounds fun. Divine.
I don't know. I'm not positive and I can't relate to that issue, so but I'm sure somebody would do it for you. So I did that. Let's see what else. I'm moving next month, by the way.
What? I didn't even know that. What the heck?
Yeah, a lot of people know that I moved just a year ago I had a studio apartment that was about, I believe it was like 450 square feet or something like that. I mean, it was a glorified bedroom that I lived in way before. So now I live in this current place, which a lot of people remember me moving if you've been with me for a while. And it's a 1-bedroom.
Nice.
And it's about 750 square feet. And it's been lovely to have some more space. However, it's not enough space. I just don't have enough space to do YouTube full time in a 1-bedroom apartment, because I have this, what you're looking at right now, if you're watching on YouTube, is a desk that's built into the wall of these apartments in the corner. And I like built kind of a little studio space, but again, if anybody does YouTube, they understand, you understand, but around me is 1,000 cords, a camera, tripods, computer, audio interface, a lighting setup. Like, takes so much space, and I was just getting sick of it. So I went across the street, and they have townhouses across the street, and they're raising my rent here anyway. They're raising my rent 5% for this 1-bedroom apartment for 750 square feet across the street. It's going to be about $400 more a month, and it's 1,100 square feet for a townhouse across the street. Yeah.
My God.
So I know. So I just got approved for the application. The gal called me, and I was like, okay, well, can I think about it for a couple days? Like, can I come see the unit?
Yeah.
And she was like, you can't see the unit because the people aren't moving out till the 31st. We don't have any units to show. And then we're renovating your unit so they're going to change the floors and everything before I go in. So that's nice. And she was like, I could tell you about where it is so you could come look at it on the outside, so that you could just kind of get a feel for it and everything. Because I've seen pictures online of the inside. I want a townhouse. So whatever. So I met with her, and she was like, yeah, no, sorry. But also, if you don't put the $500 deposit down, I am going to call the next person on the list and offer it to them. Like, it goes really fast here, and people don't move out of here. People have been living, like, a lot of people there have been living there for like 30 years. Whoa. So like, it's not like the apartment I'm at now where there's so much turnover that you can get in a unit anytime, right? Damn. And so she was like, sorry, but you gotta make I was like, I want it.
You're like,
so I did money. So it kind of derailed my day, because I ended up going to the bank and doing applications and stuff, but I already got approved, and I will be moving in sometime in June. Yay. And I'm gonna hire movers this time, because I refuse to try and recruit my poor parents and friends and to help me move giant furniture. So I'm just so excited, because I'm going to have a separate bedroom for a studio and an office. And then I'll have my bedroom, and then I'll have a whole downstairs area.
It's life-changing having space that you can just like leave the stuff up, because
we've been talking about that. Like, just leave it all there. I have to pack it all up after filming like every week.
The way that I would literally damage my own equipment, because I would be like angrily putting stuff away. Like, I have no patience for that.
Yes. So can I tell you one more thing with moving? I really want to know your feelings on this, because some people hate this and other people love this animal. Now that I would have a separate bedroom, which I would put this in the studio, but I have been wanting and looking into getting pet rats for years. I have wanted them for so long, and I haven't had the space, because rats, I don't know how much you know about pet rats, but they need huge cages with many levels. And so I need like a 5-level, basically, like takes up half the room cage.
So much enrichment.
Yes, they need a lot of enrichment. And I was like, well, I'll get 2, because I know you can't get 1.
Yeah.
So they're social. But now I'm like, the more videos I'm watching, I might get 3. Because a lot of people are recommending that they need little groups, like, so that it's really hard to stick. Like, I've heard it's the most ethical to put them at least in groups of 3. Okay. Because, God, I hope my mom's not listening to this, because she would be like rolling her eyes at me. She thinks like, not that she like, it's not like she cares that much, but she would just like, she has opinions about things like that. And I've been watching this girl who does like all rat and mice content on YouTube, and Epiology, I think is what her name is. I don't think I've watched Emiology. I'll link her channel below, because she's great and she deserves more love. I love her. She's in the UK, and she said that it's actually like 2 rats is the bare minimum, but it is kind of like sticking somebody with a roommate and having only that person to talk to for the rest of their lives. And it is best to have at least 3, because then if they bond with one over the other, they have like, it's better. So I might get 3 rats.
I love that personally.
Because this next townhouse.
Also, listen.
Do you like rats? A lot of people, I tell them that and they're like, ew.
Well, here's the thing. Would I feel comfortable to hold one? Probably not. Well, just because I'm like very skittish, like lizards and bugs, like it's not that I dislike them. It's just that things moving suddenly while I'm touching them, like activates my startle response. I have such a sensitive startle response. Aaron can scare me literally just by walking into the room. But I like one of my obsessions for the last like year has been watching hamster and mice like videos on YouTube. Yes. I love Victoria Rachel. I love, the channel used to be called Aaron's Animals, but it's like, I think it's just called something else now. But I am like, I know so much, Hannah, about hamster care and about small animal care.
See, I don't like hamsters. Soothing. I would not get another hamster. I had hamsters. They're adorable, but rats are surprisingly way cleaner than hamsters.
I could see that.
And rats are a lot smarter than hamsters. They can, like, you can train rats. I've heard you can even potty train rats to go in a certain area of their enclosure. And I had rats as a kid, or I've had hamsters as a kid. Benefit, you could have one at a time and they'll live a few years. So it's a very low commitment. Yeah. But they're disgusting. They literally, I had one. My mom, see, this is why my mom is just like, oh, rodents, because this one would lift up its leg and do almost a handstand on its kennel to pee on the wall outside of the cage.
Oh, well.
This hamster was vindictive, dude. And I love watching videos of hamsters, like nothing against hamsters. I do think they're adorable and they're great beginner pets because, like I said, you only need one. They don't require, you would know, but like they require enclosures, but they don't have to be as big as rat enclosures. Yeah. And, to
be fair, they're supposed to be pretty large though. Like apparently all of the stuff that they sell in pet stores is like egregiously undersized. There's a lot of tutorials about how to make one on your own because the amount of square space that they need is like actually pretty impressive. So I feel like
I'm sure the way I was doing it 20 years ago as a kid was probably unethical. Like, not that I was treated them unethically, but I bet the size that I had probably wasn't great. So
yeah, I think it's something that like in recent years people have started to learn more about hamsters as like an animal and then alter their care to be more appropriate. But like in the 90s, we didn't know anything, you know, and our parents sure as fuck didn't know anything about pet care. So
that's true. Yeah. So I know I've been doing a lot of research and
it's so exciting.
It's definitely, I always knew that they had to be in groups and I knew that they need large enclosures. Yeah. And they also also like parrots, they need time out of their enclosure every day too. I think that's also something people don't consider is that I have a baby gate that's a really big playpen thing for when my dog was a puppy that I was like, I could set that up in the room too so they could be out while I'm in there filming and stuff like that. So and I have to keep them safe from Winnie because Winnie has a prey drive, but the reason I'm not concerned about it with this is that they'll have their own room and I won't ever, don't worry if anybody's concerned about this, I will never leave them together in an area alone. Yeah, they would be separated at least by a gate, if not by several doors. Yeah. So if I got rats, they would be like, pets. They would be part of my family. So
if you get rats, you have to FaceTime me so that I can see them because I feel like they're going to be so cute.
If I joined a group on Facebook that has breeders and stuff for it, because generally you go to a breeder for fancy rats because pet stores are just terrible. Obvious reasons. Yeah. You often get behavioral problems in pet stores because they're often just like, whether you want them for food for your snakes or for pets, whatever, it's fine, like whatever you want to do. And pet stores are just generally terrible, but they have bad enclosures and stuff. Never ever get better to go to a breeder for exotic animals than a pet store, literally, because pet stores are so unethical.
That's so sad.
But so it's actually best to either, you could rescue them, of course, from people trying to rehome them, but the problem with that is that rats only live 2 or 3 years at most.
Oh wow.
And so getting them from somebody else when they're already 6 months to a year old, like vastly decreases their life, or decreases the time you get with them.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go to a reputable breeder in my area. That's fair. Because I'd want them as babies, like after they're weaned, so that they would grow up together.
Cute.
And then I'm so excited. Yeah, I'll
That's
FaceTime
adorable.
you, but also I might just have them on the podcast sometimes. Like if they're out, I might just like have them out.
I would
with me
die
when filming. So yeah. So you wouldn't get a hamster then?
No, because first of all, we're tapped out on pets. We have two dogs and 2 cats.
4. That's true.
And it's a full-time job. But also, both of our cats are so smart. They're such little shitheads. We've literally had to turn on the doorknobs because they're like handles. They're not like knobs. We've literally had to turn them all backwards and lock the doors when we leave any of the rooms, because one of them will lean against the door and then the other one pulls the handle and they pop the door open. And they've also figured out that the little latch thing, they will paw at it until it unlocks. Yeah, they're terrorists.
That's diabolical.
Yes. My cats are terrors, for real.
And they work together.
Yes.
Oh my God.
If I leave the house for too long and I don't say goodbye to them, they open my linen closet and rip all of my tablecloths out. And then when I come home, they just sit there in front of it like,
hello.
Like they're so sassy. And also, like, despite my best efforts, they will get into everything. So I would love a hamster, but I don't think that I would feel good about
You're afraid
one in the house, because I feel like we would constantly be playing interference to make sure that they didn't kill it, which is probably not good for everybody.
That's probably not good. Yeah. That's probably not fun. If they could get into bedrooms, I mean, at least like Winnie would if she could, but she's not that smart. She can't, can't get it. Yeah. She's like, the worst that'll happen is that Winnie will be really mad at me for giving attention. She gets very jealous, and especially something she sees as prey, she'd be like, what are you doing? Yeah. That is food. What are you doing? Yeah. My parents found 2 little mice in their yard. We're having having an explosion, and Tonka found one. That's their golden retriever. Found one of the mice, and then my mom found one, and she put them in a bucket because she didn't want to when she finds them, she doesn't want to let them go because they'll breed and like become an infestation in our yard. And so I was dropping Winnie off to they were going to babysit for a couple hours on Monday, and I was like, please don't kill those mice. Yeah. And my mom was like, I'm not going to kill them. I'm leaving them for your dad. And I was like, is he going to kill them? And she was like, I don't know. It's none of my business. I don't want to know. She was like, I don't want to know what happens to them. I was like, so my dad comes home as I'm leaving. I'm like, Dad, please don't kill the mice. They're so cute. They were little baby mice. They were so
else. Take them to the park and let them go.
It's okay. Don't worry. This has a happy ending. They didn't kill them. Okay. But because my dad was kind of teasing me and kind of acting like he was going to. Rude. And I went and I was like, literally, you could save them for me and I'll bring them back to my apartment in this bucket, and I'll like put them, there's plenty of owls and stuff here that would like use them as food, right? So, well, that's ethical. Like, that's just the circle of life.
I don't want anything to die is my problem.
I know. Want everyone to
live forever.
Then the owls would die if they
even like the lizards in my backyard, because Savannah eats lizards a lot. She has to be supervised in the backyard because we have big, like Godzilla-looking lizards in our backyard, like big geckos and stuff. And she loves trying to hunt them down. And so we'll go out there with her and like play interference because I'm like, you're a murderer. Don't hurt my lizard friends. But I want everything to be alive forever.
I totally get that. And I don't think humans interfering unnecessarily I find very annoying. Like, I don't like humans killing mice just because they're like close to your yard. Like, that's an owl eating a mouse for it and its babies is like, I had nothing to do with that.
Fair.
So I did come home and they promised me they didn't kill them. My dad said he was like, no, I couldn't do that. He was like, even like as much as like I don't care, like he also could not look at their cute little faces. So he did like dump them like in the woods a couple blocks away so that hopefully they'd get disoriented and not come back to our house. But I like to think that's me putting the sad face on for them made them not kill the mice, because I was like, no, they were so cute.
They're so cute. Also, we should probably get started because we've been just chatting for 30 minutes.
I know, that's okay. I'm sure people are enjoying it. I'm probably going to start putting timestamps in the description. I'm actually like, just like not a lot of timestamps, but just like if you want to skip the beginning banter, here's where the topic starts.
Perfect.
For people, so that if they do want to skip this beginning banter, I'm not offended. Yes. So I can do that. And then I don't know what we'll do I can put it in the description on the for people not watching on YouTube. The show notes. I could put it in the description and the show notes. If people want to skip by, because I would appreciate that if I was a podcast listener. Me too. Okay, today I'm taking the reins and Mickey is going to just react and listen and look pretty and give me her input. Yes. Which sitting there and looking pretty is not hard for her. I don't know if you guys have seen her, but
you're so sweet.
It's part of her life. So today, we teased this last week, but today we are talking about MLMs, and I specifically need to get some shit off my chest about a self-proclaimed queen boss MLM, Jessie Lee Ward.
Oh boy.
I just want to put a disclaimer here that I am about to use a ton of annoying protective language. So I apologize for how much I say allegedly in this video and stuff like that, because Jessie Lee Ward is known for sending people cease and desists and trying to sue people. She's very into that. Okay. So I'm going to be so I apologize to people out there listening, but I will be saying allegedly quite a bit unless it's a very well-known fact. So
fair enough.
Let's talk about MLMs. Mickey knows what an MLM is, but you guys might not. So let's go over what an MLM is very briefly. MLM stands for multi-level marketing. You might hear it if you hear anybody say something like direct sales or
network marketing is the other one.
Network marketing is another big one. If you hear them, they're talking about an MLM.
Yes.
MLMs are things like, if you haven't heard of it recently, I'm sure you've heard of the companies. Amway is an MLM. Mary Kay is an MLM. Pampered Chef, LuLaRoe, Young Living, doTERRA. What others can you think of?
Beachbody, or it's called Body now.
Yes.
Scentsy, Bomb Party, Honey and Lace. I think Honey and Lace is dead now, but
the Paparazzi is the crappy jewelry one.
Yes.
Awakened.
All of the pearl ones.
All those weird pearl parties. Optavia is the literal ED.
Yes.
One.
Terrible.
Yes, that one's probably my least favorite. Monate. How could we leave out Monate?
The most
Monate is
MLM
the shampoo one,
MLMs.
where the most MLM-y one,
yes.
where a lot of people have reported allegedly having their hair fall out after using those products. iGenius is one. Q Sciences. We could go on and on and on.
Plexus is the other diet culture bullshit
Plexus.
one.
Oh, yeah. Anything that promises weight loss, if it's an MLM, it's very dangerous, and
don't do it.
They're these things are scams. Yes. And again, if you've never heard of it, we're not going to go over the whole history, but just so that you have a good idea of what we're talking about today, the reason they are scams is because while there is a product in the company, you make more money off of recruiting other people into the company than off the product itself. So you could make a small side income selling Monate shampoo if you wanted to. Maybe if you worked very, very, very hard, you could make an extra $100 or $200 a month. But nobody knows because they can't make income claims.
Yeah.
But you're going to make the most money off of getting other people to become ambassadors and become salespeople for those companies. that's a Ponzi scheme.
Yes.
That's a pyramid scheme with a product to sell in it.
Slippery
Do you have
little
anything
loopholes.
Else? Yes, with legal loopholes. Yes. And to be clear, many MLMs have actually gotten in trouble and gone to courts and had to go through many legal proceedings for operating as a pyramid scheme. If you've ever seen the LuLaRoe documentary on Amazon, highly recommend.
Yes.
It's amazing.
So good.
That is them having to restructure their company because they got in trouble for operating as a pyramid scheme. If you've ever gotten a boss babe message or a hey hun message in your Instagram DMs, your radar should be going off. Yeah. Do you have anything to add about like what MLMs are?
I know that a lot of people have questions about like, okay, well, if it's technically illegal or like if it is a pyramid scheme, like how come they don't get shut down? Basically, the issue is that because these are all independent and separate businesses, the FTC has to individually legally assess each situation, which is very costly, very timely, or time consuming anyways. And so it's a difficult thing to do, which is why we see so many of them, because also too, if one gets shut down or they restructure, then people just migrate to another one or another one opens. It's very much like whack-a-mole.
Right.
And so, there's a lot of frustration for folks about like, why don't they just get rid of them? And like, the short answer is that it's just not that simple. So that's also why they're so dangerous, because it is kind of an unregulated space in a way. And by the time that the FTC or like the appropriate legal authorities are able to enforce any consequences, it's too late. They've already ruined so many people's lives, and like those people have already gotten caught up in it, and like those people are never going to get that time and money back, you know?
Right. Yes. Yeah. And they are technically legal because they sell a product.
Yes. Yeah.
Just because that's technically legal doesn't make it ethical. We've talked about that before. It also doesn't make it have many similarities to cults. Like it has a lot of things that are similar to cults. The most fascinating part about the psychology. So, I guess I said this when we recorded this the first time, but I've been obsessed with anti-MLM content lately. I've seen every single one of Hannah Alonso's videos, so good resource. If people want like more anti-MLM content, highly recommend. Hannah Alonso is one I love, as well as Cece Suarez. She's very spicy though. Cece Suarez is definitely way more blunt than Hannah Alonso is. Hannah Alonso is way more nice. But I do love both of them. There's a lot of other creators. Isabella Lanter is another very good one that I love, just in case people would like to go down the rabbit hole. But the biggest like predatory thing that I find so fascinating is the bait and switch. The promise in your DMs of like time freedom, retiring your husband, generational wealth. That's another like fancy buzzword they like to use. Residual income, and it's making it seem like you could just do this extra side hustle in little pockets of your day, but then after they get you signed up, it's not only very difficult to leave, but you suddenly don't have any time freedom. Suddenly you're pressured by your upline to make your upline are people that recruited you. Anybody you recruit is your downline, to join every Zoom meeting every night, no matter, even if you just gave birth 3 days ago, they want you on that Zoom meeting because Kelly Sue took a Zoom meeting from the hospital while she was nursing her newborn baby. So, and then her baby went back to the NICU and she still joined the Zoom call. So why can't you? And it's stuff like that.
My God. Also, actually, I think this is an important time to clarify also that these institutions, the systems that these businesses exist within is predatory, but also that this is not shade at people who are in MLMs or have been in MLMs necessarily, especially like people who are at the lower level. Like all of these people are being victimized, you know, like people like Jessie Lee Ward, people like the very upper tier people in that LuLaRoe documentary, like those people are hurting people, first of all. But also, like, those are the only people who really make any money, because when you get in at the like very, very, very early days, then you can make money and have this huge downline. But basically everybody beyond that point is being victimized. So like, please know, this is not us shading you or like being shitty towards people who've been victimized. It's that the system and like the structure is predatory, not that like every Tom, Dick, or Harry who like tries to sell Scentsy as a stay-at-home mom is a predatory bad person. Like, that's not how that works, you know?
Right. They aren't predatory, but they are sometimes exhibiting predatory behavior based on what they were taught within the MLM.
Yeah.
Like, again, saying that structure. I just don't want to also say that everybody in MLMs except the uplines are innocent, because some people do show, and I'm not even calling them predators, just exhibiting some predatory behavior by trying to keep people in it, even though they're not making any money, even though they want to leave. But again, they're not usually, they're just doing what they were told to do as well. And there's a lot of brainwashing that goes on that makes it also not their fault. And I totally agree that the majority of people are victims themselves. And it's really, when we talk about this, it's often not about the specific people, but it is about the MLM as a whole.
Yes.
So
there's a lot of like desperation. And I think also with like the current state of like socioeconomic affairs, sometimes people are backed into this corner and start being a version of themselves that's like maybe not reflective of their best self. But it's not to say that they're like these irredeemable, like terrible human beings, you know? Like, that's not fair. These people are just being
and a lot of people after they leave, they feel terrible and they go apologize to all their family and friends. And they like, so absolutely. Like, I totally get that. It doesn't excuse all the actions that some people
of course not
do in it. But I do think that's important to know, that it doesn't mean that they're a bad person or anything like that. But I will stand by the fact that I think government agencies have declared that over 99% of people don't make any money and often lose money. Awful. And then when that happens, your upline will blame you and your work ethic rather than the structure. And it's just that's why it's a scam.
Yeah. It's all bad. Oops, all bad.
Okay. So along with my obsession with anti-MLM content and watching many hours of it, typically every day, watching at least 1 to 2 hours of content on this, I have become so fascinated by Jessie Lee Ward. I'm not, you know what? I'm going to tell on myself here. It's my toxic trait. I do hate watch some people. Okay.
Hannah. Oh no.
She is so fascinating to me. Like, I know I don't want to give her the engagement, but the way she has roped so many people into her web is so fascinating to me.
I know.
So Jessie Lee Ward is a top MLM creator. She was in Pure Romance at first, back when she was younger, like over 10 years ago. She was in the MLM Pure Romance.
What?
She left Pure Romance. She's an MLM hopper, and she went to Modere. Modere fired her in 2017.
Oh no.
For, again, there's a lot of rumors that I won't really get into. One of the rumors was that she was had a husband and was involved with one of the higher ups at Modere, allegedly. I have no idea if that's a real fact or not, but I've heard it many, many times before. But again, I'm not stating that as a fact. But I do know she was definitely fired either way. Jessie Lee Ward, of course, has her own version of events. So from Modere, she is now in a MLM called Prove It. And you have to say it like that because there's an exclamation point at the end. Prove It. And it's spelled Pruvit.
Ew. Also, can we talk about that just really quickly? I feel like so many of these MLMs misspell things or have their own little like cutesy branding that like is such a red flag. Like, if the business that's trying to recruit you is like spelled incorrectly and has a bunch of exclamation points in the title and in the branding,
it's probably not
run
good.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, it gets worse because Prove It is
Great.
a ketone MLM. So not only is the MLM itself a scam, but the product they're selling is a scam because they're trying to make it, they claim that you can drink this drink, ketones, and it will put you into ketosis to make you lose weight. And spoiler alert, there is no way to go into ketosis without actually going into ketosis with a very, very low carb diet, which by the way, nobody should do unless they talk to their doctor.
Yeah. Can you explain what that is, please, for those of us who are uninitiated? Because I don't understand what does going into ketosis actually mean?
So the ketone diet, and I'm not an expert by any means.
Fair.
Also, I am not a nutritionalist, not a dietitian, but I am somebody who studies diet culture quite a bit. Is fascinating to me. And I know that, doing the keto diet is, it's a diet, no matter what anybody says. It's still restriction. It's still a diet. However, some people do go on it for diabetes to help their diabetes.
Hannah got that part wrong. It wasn't originally for diabetes. It was originally to treat epilepsy. So yeah, that's why you shouldn't listen to people like me who are not professionals. Okay, back to the show.
That's originally what it was for, and if you do it with a doctor who's telling you to do it for your diabetes, I don't see anything wrong with that because you're doing it with the help of a health professional walking you through it, and somebody, you could tell them if anything was going wrong. But people notice that you lost weight on it, but honestly, it's not really, of course you're going to lose weight if you eat less than 20 net carbs a day or whatever it is, and it's essentially focusing, you eat fat and you eat a lot of fat and a lot of vegetables and fiber, but very, very low sugar and
what's
carbs.
the claims that they're making about what ketosis is supposed to do?
Why don't I just look up a quick definition and read it off of Google, because I'm sure it'll explain it. The first thing in Google will explain it better than me. Ketosis is a metabolic state that occurs when your body burns fat for energy instead of glucose. The keto diet has many possible benefits, including potential weight loss, increased energy, and treating chronic illness. However, the diet can produce side effects, including I was not expecting that. The diet can produce side effects, including keto breath and constipation.
Oh my God. Okay, so that makes sense why they tell people to do absolutely crazy shit, like putting a whole stick of butter in your coffee and shit, right? Because the rationale is that you'll just burn fat instead of glucose and then you lose weight. Okay, get it.
Exactly. But I'm sorry, but if you cut out that many carbs, if you restrict anything in your diet, which you shouldn't do, but constricting carbs to that extreme, of course you're gonna lose weight.
Well, yeah, you're starving yourself essentially. It's a really creative way to starve yourself and almost put yourself into malnutrition. Great,
which
that's terrible for you.
I don't.
Also bad for your mental health.
I know. No judgment for people doing it, because I know that anybody's doing it is a victim of diet culture. But it's, to me, in my personal opinion, it's not a sustainable way. It's not sustainable. You're anybody who's done it, I've heard it's very difficult, in the process of going into ketosis. It's just, I don't know, it just sounds terrible to me. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with trying to eat more healthy fat and vegetables, but you don't have to eliminate everything else to do it.
Well, and for what it's worth, any highly restrictive diet, whether it's keto or Whole30 or just a calorie limit or whatever, all of those are very highly correlated in the research with poor results. The research supports that this is not a sustainable choice. It's not a healthy choice. It doesn't positively impact your health determinants, and it's very, very dangerous for your mental health. So just don't recommend, Yeah. So she's charging people an egregious amount of money for a shitty restrictive diet.
Yes.
Got it.
But that's the one. Prove It is what Jessie Lee Ward is currently in. Jessie Lee Ward is known. She's very charismatic. She's very good at people that like her, really like her.
Okay.
And are very loyal to her. But there's people within the MLM community who are actually in MLMs that don't like her and haven't liked her, because she is she's mean. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. She's just kind of mean to a lot of people. And I'm not saying that as, I mean, that is an opinion, but look at her live streams. Like, she yells and she's just a lot. So Jessie Lee Ward is endlessly fascinating to me. She is the one that roped her team into going to Colombia at the beginning of this year, a few months ago. And she got them to go to Colombia and was pretending like it was a vacation, but said they were going to go on a hike, prepare for a 2-hour hike. And it ended up being a 15-hour hike. They were sleeping on the beach in Colombia where it's not very safe. I don't know if you know this, but Colombia has some very dangerous areas. People get kidnapped in Colombia for American hostage situations a lot.
Interesting.
And it's
but also too, can we talk about the fact that like 2 hours, 3 hours, 5-6 hours, sure, you can call that a hike. 15 hours, you're like migrating across the country. Like, we're no longer hiking. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the Intercontinental Divide kind of hike. Like, that's not a fucking normal expectation at all. That's wild.
I think most people would agree with you. I think most people agreed that what she did, like, that's what it was, because her story kept changing. Like, she was admitting to all this, like how she lied to her team and how she told them.
My God.
But she warned them. She told them to get in shape. Like, she gave them 90 days before they left to like make sure they were going to the gym and eating all this blah blah blah, and that it was their fault for not asking more questions.
People train for months for marathons, which are like 26 miles.
They should have asked her more questions about what was going to happen, and she would have told them if they had asked.
She's so mean. Oh my God.
She's mean. She's mean.
Jesus.
Okay. The reason we're talking about her today, and as fascinating as all this stuff is, there is something specific I want to talk about. So Jessie Lee Ward has very, very tragically been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer just a few months ago.
God.
And the whole thing, now I want to preface this conversation with the fact that I don't care how mean you are, I do not wish anything bad on anyone. The fact that she's going through this is absolutely terrible, and I would never judge how somebody would grieve through the process of going through something like that.
Super valid.
Getting diagnosed with something so terrible. However, she could get somebody killed by the way she is treating her diagnosis, because the way she's treating her diagnosis is one thing, but her sharing all this with her very large audience is concerning to me. The reason she even found out was because she had lost a lot of weight recently. We suspect that it was unexpectedly. She claims it's because she was on the carnivore diet and she was eating nothing but meat. And so that's how she lost 15 pounds of fat off my body because of this, and I've never been healthier, yada yada yada. Okay. I don't know if people know this, but if you're losing weight at a pretty rapid rate and you haven't changed that much, it can be a sign that something is wrong. That's how I found out I had Crohn's disease, amongst many other things. But I was losing weight very rapidly and wasn't trying to. And so she says that she goes to get an MRI at the hospital that she paid for out of pocket. And she just wanted a full body MRI because she wanted a general sense of what her health was like.
Sus, but okay.
Right? Weirdo. Very suspicious. People have a lot of doubts, and of course we can't prove it. But it's very hard to believe that she was having zero symptoms and then just decided to go get a baseline MRI to see how healthy she was.
That's bizarre.
So she gets this MRI, and it lights up like a Christmas tree, pretty much, with concerning shit. So they say, you need to get a colonoscopy ASAP because we are seeing some bad stuff. Valid. So the way Jessie Lee tells the story is, because of my connections and because of the people I know, I was able to get a colonoscopy within a couple days.
And so I'm very grateful that I ordered an MRI for myself because I had no symptoms. I just wanted a baseline of my body, and then I was told I needed a colonoscopy right away. And because of my contacts, I was able to get a colonoscopy literally next day, when in the state of Texas, it isn't until April to get a colonoscopy currently. All doctors, I got multiple opinions, said that MRI saved my life. It is a gene mutation. Nothing is wrong with my life, and thank God I'm in incredible health. So take care of your health. Love y'all.
Which I can call bullshit on that. And this pisses me off. This is neither here nor there. But as somebody with Crohn's disease who's had a lot of colonoscopies, and I was only diagnosed a couple years ago, and I've had at least like, I think 5 or 6 colonoscopies in the last. I had 1, 2, 3, 4. I have had at least 4 in the last 2 years, if not more, but I don't want to over exaggerate either.
Fair.
But I've had a lot of colonoscopies, and I know if they are concerned about your health and they think something is wrong, it doesn't matter who you are or what your connections are. In almost every single state, they're going to get you in for an emergency colonoscopy. You're supposed to go through all this prep for colonoscopies, 3 days of prep and purging. But I'm sorry, if it's an emergency, they will figure out a way to get it for you, right? Like, that is such bullshit. And the fact that she tries to make herself look so special because she's rich pisses me off. And I can call her because I have had a colonoscopy in an emergency situation. I know they will squeeze you in.
Yeah. Well, and also too, can we just talk about the fact that like the way she's talking about it is like also shitting on people who, like, if you were in a weird situation, or like, let's say you weren't able to get this emergency colonoscopy when you really needed one, like her just being like, oh, I'm just so much better than everybody else. And like, basically what she's implying is you don't deserve medical care if you're not special like me. Like,
exactly.
Ew, why don't you fuck off with that fucking attitude? Like, what kind of elitist bullshit is that? Like, also, what competition are you trying to win, ma'am? Like, being the meanest that you can be because it's working. God.
And it's also just not true. If you walk into a hospital, it doesn't matter. At least in America, if you don't have insurance, they have to treat you. The second you walk in, you are their responsibility. They cannot refuse care to anybody.
I can't speak to that because I am privileged enough to have had insurance my whole life, so I don't really know that I would know. But still, like,
the reason I know is because I've worked in medical before. I've worked in a medical I was in the admin side of a medical clinic, but cool. The second, like, it's the law. Like, if somebody walked into the clinic, they are under the law obligated as a medical professional to help them. There's a lot of nuances to that and everything, but if you walked into a hospital, they cannot refuse to help you. Just like, if you walked in with a heart attack,
anyways,
they have to save your life. Yeah. So we all know that's bullshit. And again, like you said, it's her trying to just seem elite and like, well, if you sold ketones like I do, then you would also be able to get an MRI.
Rude.
Anyway, so they find out from her colonoscopy that she has very bad colon cancer that has spread to her liver and her lymph nodes. She also goes in for emergency surgery and gets a big chunk of her colon removed, which, as somebody who's also almost lost their colon, is very triggering for me to even like...
Yeah, that's
the fact that she's not taking this serious. Yes. So she gets out of surgery. She's recovering, and they tell her what her options are and that she needs to go to chemo. She needs radiation and she needs chemotherapy if she wants to prolong her life. And she said, well, I don't believe in that stuff.
The questions I saw a lot about was about chemo and radiation. We won't know anything until pathology comes back either today or tomorrow, and I'll update you guys on that. But then the other thing is, like, I'm very anti all of that for reasons. I didn't even give my dog chemo when she had cancer. I took a holistic route. And so I did buy a hyperbaric chamber. For those that didn't see, I did take stem cells on the Friday before surgery. I will fly to Costa Rica to get more stem cells, like the deeper, crazier stem cells. Doing oxygen treatments, magnetic treatments, and red light therapy and all kinds of ozone treatments, all kinds of stuff like that. But either way, I'll take y'all on the journey. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
But there's been rumors that she's not vaccinated against COVID. So allegedly, that's alleged. I don't know for sure, but like, she's not a vaccine person. She let a surgeon cut into her body and take a chunk of one of her organs out. But when the doctors are talking to her about getting chemo, then she says then they're just peddling chemo because that's how they make the most money.
My surgeon and the oncologist are 100% pimps, not of women, of chemo. They really love that hoe. They really love her. They love her. She is it for them. They just want to get those commishy-mishies, and they don't care who dies. I mean, okay, maybe they do care who dies. I shouldn't say that. But I will just tell you guys, I have never in my life seen such a strong and compelling sales pitch. They really should go into sales. They really should. They did a double team like I've never seen in my life. They were able to, they took the initiative to go past my 2 emergency contacts and call my assistant to tell her that I was going to be dead by Christmas if I didn't follow a chemotherapy protocol, to scare the bejesus out of her, to have me get ambushed by my assistants and my lawyer the next day. To then have me go, oh gosh, guys, like I got stories for you. Okay, I got stories for you. I got so many stories for you. All right.
No, sweetie, they're concerned, and they're telling you that you're going to die if you don't get it.
Also, too,
yeah.
You know, actually, you know what? I'm
Please.
sure that you're going to go off about it. Please continue. I'll save my thoughts for the end.
Please, yes, please. If you have any thoughts, though, please.
Okay.
Feel free to interrupt me because I'm talking a lot. So moving on with this now in more recent times. So now she is doing all the holistic approaches to curing her cancer. She's doing juicing a ton every day. She's doing oxygen treatments, lymph node treatments.
Okay.
All these things that only really privileged people could
Yes.
do at all.
Yeah.
Which, fine for her, whatever. And again, I don't care. I just want to reiterate, I don't give a shit how people, if you want to go this route and not get chemo, and that's how you want to think you could cure your cancer this way, doing that on your own time is one thing, but telling your massive audience that chemo is just poison, and that, I mean, it is, but it's life-saving poison.
Yes. Yeah.
But like, and all this is dangerous, and it scares me that she might influence somebody. She's
Yes.
very into coffee enemas now.
Those are
For those of
so
you that don't-
dangerous.
Yeah, I wrote down some notes about coffee enemas. If you guys don't know what an enema is when you use a device to squirt liquid into your rectum. I have had to do them before surgeries before. They are massively uncomfortable, but you buy a kit from the store that has safe pH balanced saline solution that you use. You don't just squirt water or anything up your butt. Don't do that.
That's
do it
dangerous.
under doctors, and don't do it for no reason. I did it because the doctor told me to do it before I went in for surgery. She has been peddling coffee enemas. She says at the end of one video, all of you should put some coffee in your bum hole. Like, she actually recommended it to people as if she had any right to subscribe that.
And the coffee enema thing, the coffee up my butt, is like freaking amazing. I'm telling you, y'all should put some coffee in your bum hole.
And I looked it up from so this is just from Wikipedia. There's no scientific evidence to support that this does anything, coffee enemas. For starters, and at worst, it's straight up dangerous. According to Healthline, coffee enemas can cause rectal burns, nausea, vomiting, cramping, bloating, and dehydration.
Oh.
But in the worst cases of prolonged use, it can cause bowel perforations. If you don't know what that is, it's when I've had these, that's how I ended up in almost septic from my Crohn's disease. I was having perforations, which are small holes that develop in your colon because of ulcers and other bad things in your colon, and it can cause that, which are very dangerous. It can cause an infection if you're not doing it correctly, and most dangerous of all, major electrolyte imbalances. 3 deaths have been connected to coffee enema use, 2 of them from electrolyte imbalances.
Great.
And one of them was a possible bacteria infection, although this, to be fair, is not confirmed that it was for sure connected to the coffee enema. But I just want to tell people, do not do coffee enemas. What are you doing? It can cause so many bad things, and there's no evidence that it does anything at all.
No. Wow. It's giving Gwyneth Paltrow. Like wannabe Gwyneth Paltrow.
I'm sure she loves Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, sure she does.
In spite of all that stuff, she is starting, and to me this feels like one of the stages of grief where she's going through denial. Again, I'm not her. I don't know, but it feels that way from what she's posting, that she's getting this deep, and that's what people are afraid of, is that she's just kind of in denial of the cancer. A couple weeks ago, she posted on TikTok about how she got her Greek results, which, for those of you that don't know, she sent her cancer cells to Greece, and there was a special lab there that mixed her cancer cells up to test them against chemotherapies. Again, this is some real elitist privilege bullshit that most people couldn't do if they weren't multimillionaires. And that way, she according to her, instead of getting just regular chemo, just throwing chemo therapies at her, she could test which chemotherapy is going to be effective against her cancer, because now she might consider chemotherapy if she could do this specific one, which part of me is like, good. Like, I am hoping that she does go through with chemo, even though no matter what, if she is able to survive, she's going to say it's because of all the coffee enemas and shit and juicing. But she's not doing chemo yet, because she said she's waiting for her next scan, because she could just feel that her cancer is shrinking or maybe even gone.
So with that said, I did get my test results back, and I was really happy to see that a lot of the things that I have been doing are on there. And so just kind of an update, I am not making a decision on chemotherapy. So I know I'm getting asked a lot, like, oh, are you taking chemo? Have you decided? And I've talked about it several places, but I'm not making a decision until my next scan, because I can tell from the coloration of my skin, I've been able to put on a little bit of weight, which is nice. And just overall energy and vitality, that something I'm doing is working very well. So I will scan again in about 8 more weeks from now, 7 more weeks or something. I'll take another PET scan, because it'll be my 3-month scan to see the cancer shrinking and or gone.
Sorry.
So she wants to get... so she's going to get another full body scan to see where the cancer's at before she commits to doing chemo. Because if it's shrinking by what she's just doing, then she doesn't want it. Then maybe she can avoid the chemo. And she had supposedly worked with some expert on this, but of course it's all hearsay. So I don't even know.
Okay. Wow.
Now she's obsessed with frankincense. If you don't know what frankincense is, specifically frankincense from doTERRA or Young Living, which are MLMs, because frankincense from Amazon would not do. Frankincense is just this oil from this, and I believe it has native and tribal remedy roots, like people, ancient remedy roots. So it's not that it possibly does nothing, but we have no evidence that it cures cancer.
Yeah, no.
So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But she said in one of her recent TikTok videos that the frankincense will, quote unquote, will kill 30% of the cancer that's inside of me.
Frankincense, like essential oils, like get with your Young Living or doTERRA reps immediately. Colloidal silver, not a fan. Curcumin and turmeric, does not like it. Quercetin, I don't know how to say it, but I'm taking it now. And I feel like I'm missing things off the top of my head, but I will tell you, I thought it was amazing. The frankincense kills over 30% of the cancer that's inside of me. That's crazy. Crazy.
I tried to look up what statistics she was even talking about. I could not find anything other than the fact that in a petri dish, frankincense was killing a certain type of cancer. But that doesn't mean anything if it's outside, if there's not like actual studies on people with cancer.
Also, too,
where did she get that from?
I just want to plug like the importance of like actual robust research here, that like randomized controlled trial research is the gold standard when we talk about like whether we are able to demonstrate that something's actually effective. Like you have to be able to reproduce those results again and again and again to demonstrate that this is like a reliable phenomenon that we can trust and therefore implement medically. Like you can't just get it one time and be like, woo, I cured cancer. That's not how that works at all. Wow.
So she's taking frankincense in capsules. She's taking the oils and putting it into capsules and ingesting it, which by the way, don't ingest essential oils.
That's very dangerous.
it's very dangerous. So then she's rubbing it on parts of her body, like outside where her tumor was and other places.
Just as another PSA, to be clear, like you said this earlier, but like there's nothing wrong with people using essential oils or holistic medicine or homeopathic remedies, like herbal medicine, like whatever, like there, especially if it's part of your
Absolutely. Go off.
cultural or indigenous roots, you know, like go off. That's none of my business. But I just want to be clear that like there, especially like some essential oils are like actually dangerous. Like there are essential oils that when you apply them to the skin can give you chemical burns. They can also cause your skin to become photosensitive, which means that you're more likely to get sunburns, and it can like really damage your skin and do all kinds of like weird wonky stuff. There also are like potentially contraindications with whatever medication you're on. Like essential oils are not something that are just like harmless and who cares. Like you can also actively harm your pets and potentially kill your pets.
I was just gonna say some of them are poisonous to dogs and cats.
Yeah. So just like please, again, like it's none of my business if you want to be holistic or crunchy, like from one
responsibly,
from one like, you know, new age interested person to another, like go off, but also please be safe about it. Like it's just, it can go wrong in so many different ways.
Or at the very least, if you're gonna gamble with your own health, please don't advise that other people do it then. At the very bare minimum, do what you want, because you know I believe in body autonomy. And that's why I think that she can do whatever she wants. If she doesn't want to, if somebody doesn't want chemo for their cancer, that is their prerogative. It's their cancer. It's their body. It's their life. But advertising it to, like, I think she has 177,000 TikTok followers on TikTok alone. And I know she has a lot on Instagram.
Yeah.
This scares me very much. I don't like it. And I've told you this before, but it makes me extra angry as somebody with Crohn's disease and being at higher risk of developing colon cancer. It makes me, it extra pushes my buttons that she is playing so fast and loose with such a colon cancer is known for being brutal.
Yeah.
And it can take people out, and it has, and it's very much like skin cancer, I feel like, where people obviously sometimes don't take it very seriously. And it can be a very, very dangerous cancer. And I just don't like it. Like, why? All she has to, and I'm not saying don't share your cancer journey even.
Sure.
All she has to do is say, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not advising anybody do this.
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor and make a decision that's best for yourself. But I'm juicing today. But I decided to take a coffee enema today. Like, you could share your journey without being prescriptive about stuff and being dangerous, because people that do, like, not everybody likes her. People like us take everything she says with a grain of salt and assume. Yeah. But there's people that really, really, really like her. And there's people that will take her word as gospel. And
especially
I don't
like
it.
The vulnerable people that she's gaslighted into believing that she has the keys to the universe because she's getting all of this special medical treatment and she's making all of these millions of dollars and changing her life and other people's lives with her stupid scammy MLM. Like, they're real vulnerable people who might make life-changing or life-ending medical decisions because of her shitty takes. Like, that pisses me off just beyond belief.
And the MLM, within the MLM circles, there's already, I've listened to a lot of horror stories from especially Hannah Alonso, who reads her subscriber stories. And there's several that have said that, like, my parent was so deep in an MLM that when they were diagnosed with cancer, they refused to get treatment because they believed that the essential oils would solve it, and they died. Like, literally has, according to people's own anecdotal stories, this has happened. And it feels like MLMs attract crunchy people a lot, which again, like, body autonomy, in my own opinion. Okay. I feel like it's different. Like, vaccines are different because that affects other people's bodies. I just want to, like, I just want to say, like, I don't want to make it seem like I think it's fine to be an anti-vaxxer, because I don't think it's fine if you're going to possibly get a preemie baby sick or killed or somebody
and also
old or
like
something. So,
contributing to bringing back communicable diseases that
Yes,
like have
okay.
long been eradicated. Like it's not a good look
Yes.
to just eschew vaccines because
I
you don't
wasn't
like
sure if
them and
that-
now we have a fucking
Right.
mumps problem. Like fuck out of here
Right.
with that shit. We got rid of
I mean,
polio and
body
I'd like for it to
autonomy.
stay gone. Thank you. Everybody get
Yes,
vaccinated.
yes. I
My
mean,
God.
body autonomy when it doesn't affect other people. When,
Yes. Yeah.
When it does not affect other people or the health of society.
And also
AKA,
like
you know,
those
Roe
among
v.
us who are
Wade
most
and-
vulnerable, you know, like people who are
cancer.
disabled, people who are chronically ill, people who
Yes.
can't get vaccinated and protect themselves. Like choosing to not get vaccinated is an active fuck you to all of those people. And like,
Yes.
that's mean. That's shitty. That's
Yes.
irresponsible. Like, don't be that person, please.
Exactly.
You
Like
know?
when it's being, exactly. So I feel like that's an important distinction too, that I
Fair.
don't want people to think that I'm like, be an anti-vaxxer, it's your
anti-vaxxer.
choice. No. I mean,
No.
when it doesn't affect, when it's
Different.
just, if it doesn't hurt or affect anybody, I honestly, most actions in your life, I don't give a shit about. Like, that's how I pretty much live my life. Is anybody, like, if it doesn't affect me or hurt other people, then I don't care.
Yeah. Go
But
off.
this kind of shit is very dangerous for
Yes.
just spreading this rhetoric at all. And I also just like, because she's been known as this person that is so untrustworthy and she's shown time and time again, I'm like, people, not just her, but people like that in general, I'm like, aren't you worried that if something bad happens to you someday, if you're in an emergency situation or in trouble or something traumatic happened to you, aren't you afraid that people aren't going to believe you, even if you should be believed?
Apparently not. I feel like she would just gaslight everybody, honestly. You know?
It's just, it's kind of like the crying wolf thing, you know, where it's
Yeah.
just like, she's like, has this reputation of like not being trustworthy. And I just, my heart honestly breaks for her. If it would more if I didn't know all the shitty things she's done to people, because
Yeah.
she's done legitimately malicious things.
Yeah.
But the human side of me, just my heart breaks that she's going through this awful thing that anybody would change their entire world, and to just, oh God, it's just sad.
Well, I think it's like an interesting case study in the way that groupthink and like, especially MLMs, the tactics that they use to manipulate people, to brainwash people. It's an interesting case study in how effective that is when it goes unchecked for such a long time, you know, like when people get so sucked into this culture and these belief systems that are actively dangerous, like you can really end up in this place, you know, like where you're issuing modern medical care because like, I don't know, maybe she really does believe that like just putting some well-placed frankincense oil is going to save her life, you know? And like, it's tragic and it's sad. Like on a human level, I am inclined to agree with you that like, she's done a lot of shitty shit and also she's a human, you know? And like human suffering makes me sad, especially when it's a result of these companies that brainwash people and make them believe these things that are just like not true and also wild, you know? It's sad.
And also, if rubbing frankincense over where your tumor was worked, nobody would have cancer.
Correct. Yeah.
If coffee enemas worked, no one would have cancer.
Yeah.
You know, or everybody who got diagnosed with cancer would not die from it.
Correct.
So
it just doesn't work that way.
It's just, I know that I'm not saying, I know it's a fact that you can die even if you go through chemo. Like, I know that's not guaranteed, but studies and statistics and science has shown that your best shot is doing what your oncologist tells you to do.
Yes. Yeah, I think also too this one pushes my buttons in a different level because I have a very close loved one who has cancer, and so the idea of somebody manipulating and abusing them into not getting the appropriate medical care and like that person dying would send me into orbit, like just a different planet. I don't know, like it feels so disrespectful and icky and gross, especially because the reason that she's doing this is trying to make money. Like she's actively trying to make money by manipulating people into making dangerous and potentially life-ending medical decisions.
Believing she's some sort of superhero that can't be taken down by,
Ick.
ick is right. Yeah. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Thanks. We hate it.
That's a thanks we hate
I don't
it if
need
there
to do
ever
that
was
every.
one.
I know. I don't need to do that every episode, you guys. I'm so sorry.
Listen, I like it.
I like it too. It's fun. It's a fun way to like wrap it up. Be like, thanks. I do hate it. Thanks. We hate it. So we probably should wrap it up. We've been
Yes. It's been a
blabbing for a long time.
Thank you
feel
for
like I
taking
talked
me on this journey, Hannah.
Of course. I'm sorry I talked so freaking much, though. I promise I won't be like dominating the conversation every week.
Also, it was your turn. I did that last week.
I know, that's
Which, speaking of which, let us know how you guys feel about this format.
Yes.
Like Hannah and I mentioned last episode and the episode before, we're still finding our footing and figuring out what works best for us, what feels fun and enjoyable for you guys. So let us know. Do you like this? Do you want us to go back to the other way? Should we try something different entirely?
Right. Because we're also, if you guys prefer 2 topics, I mean, we love doing this. This is really fun. It's obviously a passion project for us, but we're also doing it for you guys too. Like the whole point is the audience. So let us know if you guys like the first episode format, or if this is good, or you just like listening to us yap.
Yeah, that too, honestly. We love that.
So, yeah. All right. Please like us on YouTube, or if you're listening on a podcast, please leave us reviews if you feel so inclined.
Yeah. Subscribe in whatever platform you're listening on, because it helps us a bunch.
Please.
And we appreciate having you here.
Yay. Yes. We're so excited to be here and to have you all. We love you all.
All right.
All right. Shall we wrap it?
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.